Buon pomeriggio, ben arrivate, ben arrivati. Siamo giunti all'ultimo giorno di festival e abbiamo questa bellissima opportunità di avere un tempo per dialogare con Princess Isatu Hassan Bangura, che era in scena ieri sera con Great Apes of the West Coast e con Blinded by Side e Edith's Monologue. Il primo di questi due sarà il replicante questa sera. E sono due spettacoli che dialogano in maniera molto stretta e che ci danno un bellissimo spaccato della ricerca che Princess sta facendo, sulla quale oggi pomeriggio prendiamo un tempo per appunto immergerci. La prima cosa che vorrei chiederti, Princess, è riguardo a questa ricerca che tu fai sulla relazione tra una storia individuale e una storia collettiva. Soprattutto in Great Apes questo è molto forte, la drammaturgia e lo spettacolo partono da un racconto che è anche un racconto personale, ma a un certo momento Princess letteralmente mangia la parola self, io, è una parola da cui lei vuole prendere le distanze, e anche nel secondo spettacolo Blinded by Sight parla della distruzione dell'io, un io a cui tu sembri preferire un noi. Ecco, volevo chiederti qualcosa di questo, perché soprattutto chi tra noi ha la possibilità di guardare alcuni spettacoli della scena contemporanea è molto frequente vedere dei racconti autobiografici o biografici che però si fermano alla dimensione dell'io senza questo distacco, questa capacità che tu hai di mangiare il self come fai nello spettacolo.
Yeah, sure. But maybe I'll start with, I was raised with the idea of a community. I was raised with, the term being raised by, it takes a village to raise a child. I was raised by a village because my mother moved to Europe when I was 5 and I was left alone with my father, and he had to walk around and move and navigate the world as a single dad a bit. So I was raised by my grandmother, by my father's best friends, by my aunties, by my uncles. And at the same time, I was raised with a strong idea of individuality. So they managed to bring, they managed to raise an individual through the idea of a community, the idea of you're never alone, you don't do it alone, together. You need people around you to exist. And I exist because they exist because I exist. So with that when I create with that mentality. And when I was creating Great Apes, I thought about the community that I had with me that I no longer have. Because I think in this culture, individuality stands out a lot. And I had to redefine my own individuality also when I moved to the Netherlands. Because all of a sudden, I was with my family, but I felt very alone. And also, the identity of who I thought I was is not the way I was being approached. Because in Sierra Leone, I was just a human being, I was just a person, I was just a girl. And then I moved here in Europe, and I became the immigrant, the black African girl, the loner girl. So I felt lost a bit. So I didn't know how to navigate this new culture, this new system. And I was constantly faced with the question of who am I, who are you, who are you? And I realized I didn't know anymore who I was. So when I was creating Great Apes, I had to go back because my father always had that philosophy of if you trip, and it was also the thing that the proverb that I use on the show, when you trip, when you fall, instead of looking at where you fall, look at the cause of the fall. So if you want to know who you are, then maybe take a few steps back go back, go back to the stories that created this human being. Which stories have created me? Which memories have created me? Which memories have I brought with me? And all of those memories were memories of where I was part of a collective somehow. So when I was writing, I thought a lot about the term self. And I also believe in order to be reborn, you have to destroy that self. It felt like I had to first, in going back, first you retrace the memory, and then you go back, and then you have to destroy the term self. I had to chew it up, put it in my belly, and then vomit it all out. And then take those little pieces from the, excuse my language, take those little pieces from the vomit and then rebuild a new identity. And that is the identity of a person is not a person alone. A person needs other people to exist, kind of. I don't know if that answers your question. Okay.
Tra l'altro appunto l'opportunità che qualcuno di noi ha avuto ieri di vedere i due spettacoli insieme questa sera. Dicevo, l'opportunità che qualcuno di noi ha avuto ieri di vedere tutti e due gli spettacoli insieme offriva naturalmente alcuni collegamenti. Uno di questi è proprio questa ricerca sull'identità che adesso ci raccontavi, che in fondo è anche la ricerca di Edipo, che è al centro del secondo spettacolo, che appunto deve compiere una serie di azioni dolorose per poi arrivare a dire sono io. Cosa vuol dire sono io? Proprio anche a livello drammaturgico in Great Apes sentiamo all'inizio questa domanda chi sei, da dove vieni, come una domanda che viene dall'esterno e alla fine invece la risposta la dai tu dopo questo processo che adesso ci hai raccontato. Lo spettacolo Great Apes è prodotto da Nettie Grant e tra i vari accompagnamenti c'è anche un accompagnamento alla drammaturgia di Giacomo Bisordi che ho avuto occasione appunto di intervistare riguardo proprio a questo processo drammaturgico che ha portato avanti con te e che credo sia interessante condividere perché è un processo di grande ascolto, credo, reciproco e di una drammaturgia che arriva dopo un lavoro in sala. Non so se puoi raccontarci qualcosa di questo lavoro sulla drammaturgia che hai portato avanti con Giacomo.
Sure. Well, first, Giacomo is amazing. He's the best dramaturg I've ever worked with. And we talked a lot about how, in what format do I want to tell my story. Because sometimes I find it boring if someone steps up and just say, hi, this is who I am, this is what I've been through, this and this and this and this, that doesn't excite me. I like to dive into something that is already known. I like to take what you know, what you experience in your everyday life, the world you live in, and put all of those experiences in a new world, in a new format, in a new being, in a new existence, in a new body, for example. When I'm on stage, I'm not a character. I was telling, for example, my story, but I was not me at the same time. So we needed to dive into how to rebuild and reshape my identity. That's what we talked about a lot. How can I tell the story of Princess without telling the story of Princess? How can I take the story of Princess, which is already known, and put it in a new world, in a new scenario? So we talked about the body a lot, and then we talk about the words, and I love to write in a stream of consciousness. I just tune everything out, put on my favorite music, and just write everything that comes out. I love the word vomiting, sorry again, just vomit everything out. And then when the words were there, and we realized this is not a traditional form of writing. I see words as music. I say text and music that my body dances to. So when I write, I want to hear it sing in my ears also. So when we finished the writing, and I started searching with Giacomo and my performance coach Peter of how can the body dance to the words that I've written? In what ways can we make the body dance? And then I remember an exercise I did in school from one of my teachers, Guillermo Mioto, and he called what he studies, or his own form of art, part instinctive performance. And for me, that's how I work, from instinct, from intuition. I believe everything you have is already there. You don't have to, you can use everything that is in front of you, but it's already there. You just need your body and your voice and your soul. So first you have to find the soul, break it open. So then, and that is what Jeremy Milton used to do with us in school. And he writes these little exercises. For example, Elvis has taken over your feet. A volcano is erupting inside your belly and you're trying to get the whole world into your mouth. Go. Something like that, and you just have to move. So I wrote a few of those exercises for myself also, and I gave them to Giacomo, and then we divided the text that I have written into parts. And then just me and Giacomo were in the theater, and then Giacomo will say some of those words for me. For example, the part where I was chewing the self, like, self sounds tasty. The exercise for that part, first I wrote a few things that Giacomo said, which is exactly, Elvis is taking over your feet. Your mouth is being swallowed by the most beautiful zombie there is. And a volcano is erupting into your belly and you want to throw it out but you want to keep it in at the same time, things like that. And then I just started researching because what does that mean when someone says that? But still, it makes it activate the body. So I started moving, and then Giacomo say, okay, now it's the time to take the text, and after the movement, and then we'll play with the text with those exercises, and then we'll do two exercises per chapter or per line or something. And then Giacomo said, okay, this one works best, this one works best, and then the next time we'll dive more into it and try to find the performative side of it. Because I can be volcanic. Sometimes I can erupt. I erupt a lot. I love erupting. So I needed him and my coach also to center me a bit. So we use those exercises so that I can erupt and just throw everything out. And then their role was to how to make everything that came out of the eruption, how to make it compact, so that you don't lose the essence of what you're doing. And also, keeping the essence of what you've already done. Because for me, I don't like to act. I hate acting. I really hate it. So my work and performance is always energy-based, is intuition-based. Nothing is set in stone. But in order to understand those intuition, I need to understand myself also. I need to know where it comes from, where it's going. I need to know where that eruption comes from so that I can put it on, and every day, even the day before I performed yesterday, I was lost because I didn't perform great in a while and I felt disconnected from it. And we did a run through and I couldn't find it anymore. So I had to talk again with my coach, Peter, and we realized I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago. And I figured out now I'm just replicating what I did 2 years ago, and it's not working because it's not me, and I don't like replicating stuff. Repetition is part of it, but repetition is not like, okay, so this is what I did, it worked, it was good, let me just do it again. Everything has to come from an honest source. And if it doesn't feel honest, if it feels fake, then I don't do it. So we had to go back into those exercises, like the question of who I was 2 years ago, that question was very relevant 2 years ago, because 2 years ago the whole Black Lives movement was happening, and the whole protest stuff was happening, and I felt very lost in the whole situation. Because I went to a few protests and I felt disconnected from it also, because everyone was talking about victimhood and the feeling of minority, and I never once in my life, my father never raised me to feel like a minority, and it felt like everyone lost their identity somehow in the situation that the system has created and put them in. And I didn't feel like that, so I was also always fighting against it somehow. So when I wrote the concepts for creative, I wanted to show someone will give a speech, sorry if I talk a lot, you can just say, but someone will give a speech about how badly they felt, which is okay and which is real, that's just their experience at the moment. But no one came, for example, in all of the protests that I've been to and said, I'm so proud of my history, of my culture, of the DNA that is embedded in me. I'm so proud of what it carries, of the chaos, of the color of the food. No one came and talked positively about what they have in them and with them. Everyone came and talked about what the system has created for them and put them in. So, and I don't feel like that. So I always, that was my form of protest, protesting against the protesters, protesting against the system. So when I created Creatives, I just wanted to go back into the culture, into the experience, into the joy, into the pain, into the pleasure, into the core of humanity, the core of who you are as a person. Because when someone asks you that question so much, who are you? Normally just say, my name is this, I come from this, I've been through this, I've been through that, this is my country and this is what has happened. But sure, those are the things you've experienced, but that's not who you are. So when I worked with Giacomo, the dramaturgy was go back and dive deep, and find who you are and destroy that self and build a new self. Chew up that self and build a new self. And I think that's how we kind of walked about recreating a new identity with the identity we already have. But first you have to kill the last one and be reborn from it.
Questo processo che ci hai raccontato, appunto dici, non può avvenire in maniera ordinata. Nello spettacolo c'è un momento molto bello in cui dici che ti senti lontanissimo dal sistema cartesiano e che lavori su un'altra dimensione, e questo modo in cui ci hai raccontato il tuo processo creativo penso che sia appunto molto coerente con questo. C'è una cosa molto interessante di queste immagini con cui hai raccontato il processo creativo, queste immagini che riguardano l'eruttare e l'imitare, perché dentro credo che ci siano due polarità. Uno è anche una parte dolorosa e poi una parte di liberazione. Rispetto a questo, anche quando ti vediamo in scena si vedono entrambe le cose, ma c'è una parte molto liberatoria e gioiosa, in particolare diciamo proprio quando entriamo in sala in Blinded by Sight. Tu sei in un momento di movimento e prima di prendere la parola ci conduci in questo momento di movimento che è molto contagioso. Ieri sera il pubblico era con te energeticamente. Rispetto a questi due poli, no? il dolore e invece la gioia della performance, volevo chiederti se appunto per te sono due poli importanti nella creazione, ma se anche a noi come spettatori vuoi fare vivere questo passaggio tra una parte dolorosa e una parte gioiosa, e anche se non sto mettendo troppa carne al fuoco, se per te è importante in Blinded by Sight che noi viviamo, come dire, fisicamente con te prima di arrivare alla parola che arriva dopo un passaggio che facciamo con te.
Yeah, I think it's very important because pain and joy are two sides of the same coin, and it's also very humane. I think everyone has experienced pain once or twice in their life. It doesn't matter how big and small, and everyone has experienced joy. It doesn't matter how big and small. I think sometimes we tend to make the one most important. Everyone wants joy, and no one wants to be in pain. But I think sometimes in order to appreciate the joy, you have to go through the pain. You have to experience what pain is. Otherwise, you won't know. You won't feel that liberation, that freedom of joy, that freedom of yes. So for me, those two are very important, but it's not one or the other, it's both. I think when I perform shows, so in Oedipus, the liberation, the joy, when the audience comes in, it's very alive, it's very well. But that joy also, that was also part of the pain also. That was for me maybe a source to go deeper and also open that part. I need to go through that happiness. It's a journey. Life is a journey. And I think sometimes on stage we only tend to choose one part of what life is or what your experience of life is and just portray that part. But life is a journey, it comes and it goes, and you experience a lot. I think it's very important to open yourself up to that journey. And in both performances, I try to find forms in what ways can I open myself up. And the only way for me to really dive into the story of Oedipus, because Oedipus, it's not my story. Greatest is my story, but Oedipus is not my story. And it's also a story that's very far away from me, far away from the culture that I was raised in. So, but then I decided to do it, and then I needed to find ways to connect with his story, and that's his story, the themes. I could connect with the theme. I could connect with someone trying to run away from the past, trying to hide away from the past. I could connect with the idea of fighting fate, fighting what is predestined for you, and still ended up ending up back at the thing you tried to escape. And I think that is a great lesson of that idea of escapism, that every time you try to run away from something, doesn't matter how long it takes, what route you take, the journey always brings you back there. So the only way forward is to face it face on. And I think that's the way I could connect with Oedipus, because I have experienced loss, and I have experienced grief, and I had to let go of a life that I once knew, a life that I thought I was going to have. So I think the feelings of pain and joy, those are humane feelings. And Oedipus is seen as this tragic hero, but at one point he was just a little boy, he was just a human being trying to figure out what life is. And then someone tells him, you're going to have sex with your mother and kill your father. And he tried to run away from it, but they eventually ended up there. And the tragedy of realizing what has happened made him rip out his own eyes. And only through that act can he accept can he accept who he is and what he's been through. He accepts the depression, the tragedy of everything. I think only by ripping out his own eyes did he finally see that the joy, the pain, the tragedy, everything is all part of the same coin. And I think also that liberated him somehow. So I was trying to figure out how can you express that liberation and also tell that story in my time, in my day, in my modern self. And that is for me through dance. And also the song that I was playing, if you listen very well to the lyrics, it's very sad. It's someone saying, my life is fucked up, I'm fucked up, I need help, I need medicine, but fuck it, I'm gonna dance through it. And I think that is, for me, that is the way I try to live my life, because life is kind of fucked up most of, excuse my language again, life is fucked up most of the time. But instead of running away from that fuckery, just dive into it. Just go into it head on. And don't see it as something separate from yourself. I don't believe in that term of happiness, only happiness. I want to be happy. I'm not someone who hopes to be happy. I just hope for peace. And the only way I can experience peace is just accepting the situation I'm in and finding a way to navigate those situations. Once I've navigated, then there is peace. So then there is joy. Joy is momentary for me. So then you have to take it all in as it comes and open yourself up to it. And just say yes to the fuckery.
In entrambi gli spettacoli c'è un uso della voce molto sorprendente che si intreccia. Il tuo modo di essere performer è uso della parola, uso del corpo, uso della voce. Queste tre aree sembrano davvero molto connesse. Ora ti chiederei se hai voglia di raccontarci un po' il lavoro di ricerca che fai sulla voce, che emerge molto chiaramente in entrambi gli spettacoli, se hai voglia sempre di portarci dietro le quinte della tua officina creativa.
The backstage of the workshop or the research into the voice? The research into the voice. Well, just a few years ago, I discovered the voice. No, not a few years ago. This year, I discovered the voice. I was I fell in love with Shakespeare when I was a child. Just the story of Shakespeare. And then when I fell in love with just Greek mythology, and back in the days when people were acts, it was very big and loud and very expressive. And I fell in love with the characteristics of those, just making yourself bigger than you are. So, but I've never really taken the time to listen to the voice. I think I've always been focused on the performing instead of the elements of performing. And I think last year, I'm discovering the voice more and more. And for me, the voice is not just about the sound that comes out, it's the voice that's hidden deep within. And I read a book, Women Who Run Readables, from Princess Isatu Hassan Bangura, and she speaks a lot about the soul voice. The soul voice is a voice, that which is hidden, but also that which can be a form of, that which can heal anything that is in pain. And that which, it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be perfectly constructed, it just has to come out. So this part, this year, for example, in Oedipus, I did like that growling or barking or whatever you want to call it, but I never rehearsed it, actually. So that was the first time. I had an idea of what I wanted to sound like. I wanted to call Oedipus to me. I wanted Oedipus to hear me. So I started thinking about the soul voice, and I think in my workshop I work with the participants also on the soul voice. And sometimes the soul voice just starts with a scream. Sometimes it just starts with bouncing and doing but it's about tuning the mind off and just going deeper and deeper into yourself and finding all the sounds that is hidden in there. The soul voice is not about perfection, it's not about good or bad or evil. It's just about the voice that comes out. So I'm still researching it. It has something also very transy, shamanic, and so it's a ritual also. I think in the olden days also, in all of those old stories, people would gather around the fire and just jump and scream and shout and be in trance about the experience, everything that comes out, and just let it happen to them. And I think the soul, for me, I call it the soul voice. And I think now I'm becoming more and more aware of it when I'm performing. I don't perform, I always say when you perform, sometimes I don't care about what you say, I care about how you say it. So I can tell you my whole story, but if it doesn't come from deep within, then really it's not my story anymore. So when I use that voice, when I growl, or when I shout, or when I scream, everyone can do that. But it has to come from somewhere, and I think that's my search into the voice, searching what kind of voices are hidden inside of me, or what kind of voices are hidden inside of me, because I believe everybody has like 30, 40 personalities, so you have so many characters inside your mind, so many voices that you hear, sometimes have to tune out every day. Just open yourself up again, and just let those voices give space, create a space for those voices to come out. And I think that is what I'm trying to research now. What are the spaces? How can you create a space for the soul voice? I'm researching the soul voice at the moment. And this was just a little bit of taste of it. And now I want more. We'll see.
Bellissimo, arrivati all'ultimo giorno, i figli di questo festival sono davvero moltissimi nella performance di Romeo Castellucci. Questa idea del linguaggio è molto forte, è un'immagine in cui l'uso del linguaggio arriva addirittura a produrre sangue, a far sanguinare il performer. E a proposito dei figli di questa programmazione, ieri appunto alla cerimonia del Leone d'Argento per Ursina Lardi, il discorso di Ursina si è concentrato molto anche sul valore politico di essere una performer, un'attrice oggi. Qualche cosa hai già detto, ma vorrei tornare su questo. Qual è per te il valore anche politico di essere una performer? E qual è il ruolo di una performer oggi?
Yeah. I'm gonna I don't want to bash on anything. I haven't seen the work of Castellucci. I've only seen a few work, and there was one work that I saw that I felt it made me annoyed and agitated. I don't need to. It was because I think I've had such an eye-opening experience the last few days working with the participants from the workshop, and I saw how giving they were and how they were willing to open their soul and tear themselves up and be reborn. And then I went in the evening, I went to see a show, so my emotions were they were raw, I was raw, and I went to see a show that felt very privileged, very elite. I saw a beautiful woman in a beautiful, beautiful dress doing beautiful movements. And for me, and all the elements was there, everything was there to make it, because if someone starts for me with a question of who you are, I want to see you go through a journey of figuring out who you are. If you say on the text, my body sings, or something sings, I want to feel it sing. I want to see you feel it sing. And nothing sang to me, nothing was discovered. No search was going through it felt like there were so many gifts there, and the gifts were not being appreciated also, or the gifts of being on stage and discovering those parts of yourself or just being thrown away. So I got very annoyed and almost to the point of angry. And I was like, go deeper, you have all these elements, dig into it. You can make beautiful poses, you have beautiful body, you have all the elements, now just go for it, and it was just there. So for me, when I saw that, I realized that is not what a performer today is. In my own mind, maybe it can change tomorrow. That's how I feel today. Tomorrow, I don't know. I always say tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. But the way that is not what my perception of a performer today is, because the world right now is so rough. Sometimes I say I'm too soft for this world, and it sometimes makes you have to, it's like a constant fight about your own softness, your own vulnerability, and your own strength. How much are you willing to give? How much are you willing to take? How much are you willing to open yourself up? So it's a search. I think life now is even for the young ones coming up, there are so many impulses, everything being thrown at you all at once. You need a space to give, you need a space, you need a moment to experience that and just throw it into the world and go into the search. So I think for me, a performer today, I think we're losing, we need soul. You need soul today, because the world feels kind of soulless sometimes. We need soul. And if I'm looking at you and I don't see a soul, you can have the most beautiful dialogue, the most beautiful monologue, the most beautiful costume, everything is correct. I don't want beautiful anymore. I want soul. I want real. I want honesty. I want to see humanity, the core of who we are as humans. And that it's not beautiful who we are as humans. We are not beautiful people, no offense, but we are not beautiful. We are kind of fucked up, and I need to see that fucked upness. I think only when we will be able to face who we are as humans, that's the only way we can move forward. And Nina Simone, for example, always say, I think it's the artist's job to reflect the times. And right now, what the times need reflecting on is how soulless we've become. So how can we move beyond that? Let's go back, let's find our soul, let's go back to the core of who we are. So I think for performers and artists, let's find a way to find the soul in what we do. Not pretty, not just art, contemporary. I don't want to see privileged art or elite art, no offense. For me, that felt very privileged. The one felt very elitist, the one felt very privileged. It was just, you're using all the right words, you're saying all the right things, you're using all the right images, but nothing was being said. And so I said it also in Oedipus, the world sees everything and understands nothing. So that's how I feel also. So we need to start going back to understanding, and the only to dive back and to understand is the only way to understand what is happening around us is also to look inside ourselves, is what has happened to me. And in order way to understand what has happened, that's the only way you can see the world. I had to do that in my life. I had to go through different things, different stages. I went through different phases of metamorphosis. And I had to be reborn again and again. And I had to break myself up again and again and again. And I think when I see the world and when I approach someone, I approach it in the sense of what I need. If I need softness, then I show softness. If I need care, then I show care. If I need comfort, then I show comfort. But first you need to understand yourself, you need to find the needs of your soul, understand the needs of your soul. So as a performer, try to understand what are the needs of your soul. What is your soul asking? If you can understand that, then you'll know how to reflect the times, you'll know how to reflect the world, you'll know how to bring some soul and care back into the world, and empathy, because we need empathy also.
Quello che dicevi risuona credo moltissimo col passaggio del discorso di ieri, che era mente lucida e cuore in fiamme, quindi la capacità di appunto guardare il mondo intorno, ma allo stesso tempo di farlo con quel calore, quell'anima di cui stai parlando. A proposito appunto di capacità di guardare il presente, naturalmente l'atto del guardare è il protagonista di questo appunto Oedipus monologue che è chiamato appunto Blinded by Sight, quindi in qualche modo il come in questo oggi, proprio perché forse guardiamo e vediamo troppo, siamo accecati da troppe immagini, e anche questo credo che risuoni moltissimo anche in The Seer, lo spettacolo di Milo Rau, che in tutt'altro modo ma pone lo stesso problema, cioè come possiamo essere capaci di vedere in un momento storico in cui siamo molto molto immersi nelle immagini, nella tua drammaturgia a un certo punto citi proprio anche letteralmente il nostro rapporto con i telefoni, con i social network, e quando passi, no, nel pubblico ci solleciti a recuperare una vista diversa. Ecco, ti chiederei di approfondire con noi questa idea di vista differente che passa dalla cecità, dal lasciare qualcosa.
Yeah. Social media is very good because it's a fast source of information for sure, and it makes nothing stays hidden anymore, which in this times is good. It keeps you on the fast track, but it also, I've seen a lot of hypocrisy also, a lot, and if you think about what is happening right now around the world, if you think about what happened a few years ago in Corona time, during that, I think the BLM movements kind of opened my eyes to the hypocrisy of social media also. I saw a lot of, so much is happening, and I saw a lot of people posting about it, talking about it, and also there was this whole black, you need to post something, a black picture, I don't know. And I see people around me doing it, and then the next day, or the next moments later, they're done. You move on with your life, you go and talk about something else, and then it felt like you just show something just to show that you're on the right side of history. And for me, that it's something that pains me a lot. I see a lot of fakery happening, a lot of people wanting to be on the right side of history, but not actually doing what needs to be done to be on the right side of history. And I think that idea of the right side of history needs to be destroyed also. And I think that is what social media is doing, that everybody is portraying an image of what they think is the good side. And I don't think there is sometimes an obviously bad side, but there is a good, it's all intertwined, all in one. And I think if you're gonna post a black picture, actually do something. I think a lot of people wanted me to post something when the BLM thing was happening. I posted nothing. I felt everything, I followed everything, but I posted nothing because I felt helpless. And it felt hypocritical of me to share something and then sit then in my room and be like, okay, let me watch a reality show right now. Or let me go do this right now. It felt dishonest of me. And then I felt anger towards the people who were doing it. And I said, okay, I need to do something. But the only moment I can share anything about things that are happening is when I'm actually doing something about it. And I think also, and that is what in Oedipus, in the text where he says, I've seen bodies on pavements become hashtags. That is my perception of what is happening also, is that you see something, instead of taking time to see what that means, what that does, what that do to the people, instead of asking yourself, who was that soul, that life, that breath inside that body, it's just let's take a picture and share it online. And then everybody else will share it online, and they'll say, this is bad, but then the body just becomes an object. And you forget that body was once a person. And then you say, let me just share that post, let me just share that, and then I'm on the right side of the street and everyone will know that I'm doing good, I'm speaking about the right things, and I'm sharing that body, and I'm good, I'm a good person, and I'm like, fuck being a good person. Sometimes in order to do the good things, you have to be a bad person sometimes also. In order to do bad things, good people do bad things, bad people do good things. That's how life is. I always have a middleman. Life is not black and white, and I think social media puts things sometimes very black and white, and that creates a lot of hypocrisy. And then if you become blind, and it becomes so much that you don't see anything. It's just swipe, 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 swipe. We become blind eventually. And it becomes like an automatic thing of reposting and reposting and reposting and reposting and reposting, and then what now? When you've reposted everything that needed to be reposted, what else is left? You on a good side of history. That's what the internet will remember, that you reposted this. But what did you actually do? Nothing. So that is, for me, my own, the way I try to, the way I share, but I try to share as much about my work. And the things that matter, I can only share about things that matter when I feel that I've done something to make it matter. If I haven't done anything, then it feels fake of me to post something about it online. But it doesn't mean I have to close myself up from it. I listen, I watch, I observe, I take it in. And when the time is right, when I have the tools, then I will do something. When you can, you do. Sometimes it's okay also, sometimes you can say, I want to, but the tools are not there. But just be aware of, it's not just as easy as pressing a button. It doesn't mean you've done something.
Credo che queste riflessioni che stai proponendo siano particolarmente interessanti e crudeli in questi giorni in cui appunto alla fine di questo, non so se c'è un problema tecnico, non funziona più. Riproviamo. Ok, forse ci può, non sta funzionando. Forse sta funzionando adesso, perfetto. Dicevo, queste riflessioni sul nostro rapporto con le immagini e questo rapporto ipocrita credo che risultino particolarmente importanti e dicevo crudeli in questi giorni in cui mentre siamo ad un festival le notizie della guerra ce ne arrivano sempre più forti. Rispetto invece al percorso che hai fatto qui, questa biennale è anche una biennale che fa il punto sui percorsi, sugli incontri importanti nella strada di una performer o di un performer. Tu hai lavorato come attrice in Grief and Beauty di Milo Rao, immagino che questo sia stato un incontro per te molto importante, e Great Takes è stato prodotto da MT Ghent mentre appunto Milo Rao era direttore. Ti chiederei se hai voglia di raccontarci qualcosa di questo, e anche se hai voglia di raccontarci se c'è stato qualche altro incontro fondamentale per te, e qual è stato per te il passaggio che ti ha fatto dire che avresti fatto questo mestiere in maniera professionale.
I think the first moment I really felt that this is what I am meant to do was the moment the first time I cried during an improvisation in like youth theater things. And because I absorbed so much and there was no way of release. And then something happened, a source was open, and then I cried. And then I realized I want to experience this for the rest of my life. And from that moment, it was for me, it started as a form of escaping my reality. Now I'm not a fan of escapism, but it started out as a form of escaping my reality because my reality in that moment sucked, and I just needed something else. And then instead of escaping the suckiness, I cried. And I hadn't had a moment to cry in a while. So when that happened, I realized, okay, there is much more in there, much more buried in there, and I want to figure it all out. I need to know what it is. And also when I saw the film, the zombie film, Resident Evil, actually that was the thing. A zombie film made me want to become an actress. I saw the actress Mila Jojovic, and she was so strong, so brave, so powerful, and I wanted to feel powerful also. I wanted to feel strong and brave. So then I said I wanted to be that person. I know she was playing a character, but I wanted to feel that. What she's experiencing, I need to feel that. So the first time I cried, I felt it. And I thought, I'm never gonna let this go again. So for me, that was it. And then eventually I started studying here, study there, ended up in Maastricht, studied performance art. And in my final year, I was graduating, I was talking with other theater houses in the Netherlands because I'm a creator, I'm not an actress, I'm not trained as an actress, but I was a performer creator. And then I was talking with other houses, and then my mentor, she was here, Anna, called me and said, Milo has this concept of grief and beauty. He's looking for someone with a story. And apparently I have a story. And then I said, yes, sure, why not? Let's meet, let's talk. And then I kind of changed my mind. I thought, okay, but it's my story. I want to tell it. I don't want someone else to decide how I tell my story. So I was going, the first time I met Milo, I was going to him to tell him that I'm not going to work with him. That I am the only person who's allowed to tell my story. But then he created such a space. We came in a room, and Peter was there, only Peter, Giacomo was there, was Karen, and Peter was there, and Milo, and some of the other people that were going to be in the performance. And Milo just said, yeah, just speak. And I spoke for an hour. Sometimes I speak a lot. I just spoke a lot. And I told everything. And he was just there listening. And it was so, I don't know, I had this idea in my mind. I thought, oh, it's a big theater, big director. It's gonna be like, I'm gonna feel the hierarchy, but it was just, I saw a human being. And for me, and he said, I want to work with you. And I was like, yeah, I'm interested. But I'm not an actress, I'm a performer, a creator. So we need to find a way that I can be both, because if I say yes to you, I have to give up some other stuff that will allow me to create. And then he said, we can work around it. And I think that's how our journeys kind of started. And then he gave me the space. And I think Milo is a perfect example for me on how to blind trust and blind risk or something. I think he saw something in me that I hadn't yet, and sometimes I still don't see in myself. And he just trusted me blindly, or he believed in me blindly. He said, whatever you want to do, create this. He gave me all the tools that I need to create great apes without ever reading the concept of great apes. He trusted it. I think he took a risk on me, kind of. And sometimes I do miss that. People just taking risk based on blind faith. And he did that. He was a perfect example for that. And somehow we created, and then Grief and Beauty was created, and which was also about grief, about loss, about euthanasia. And the whole process was just, yeah, it was a process. But I saw, I don't know, I saw the person he was. He is brilliant. I saw his brilliance, and I'm like, I want to see more. I want to learn from you. And I think that's what, and also he stole a lot of my cigarettes, so we created a bond about smoking and stuff. But he had such a blind faith in me that I never understood. And I think I respect also who he is as a creator, and have seen how he works. He's just genius. He's like blind genius. And I want to be that genius one day. So I think somehow he became kind of like my godfather of the theater. From him, Princess, the performer, was created because he took that faith and gave me the space to perform and grow into the performer that I am now. So I think, and also somehow my name is forever linked to his, which is true. And if my name is going to be linked to someone, I'm happy it's him.
In una biennale che sta riflettendo molto sulla formazione, quello che dici credo sia davvero prezioso, l'incontro, la capacità di fidarsi, di correre rischi e la possibilità di dare spazio. Un'ultima domanda proprio su questo e poi ti lasciamo andare, che questa sera sarai di nuovo in scena. Tu stessa hai tenuto un workshop in questi giorni, dunque hai appunto fatto esperienza di formazione a tua volta. Se ci vuoi raccontare qualcosa di questi giorni, del workshop di questi giorni.
It was amazing. It was, I think I've loved performing here, but the workshop is my favorite part of the whole Biennale experience. And maybe I think the people made it the participants from the workshop have made this whole experience for me much more special, because they didn't know each other, I didn't know them, and then I came into a space and I started asking them the same question. First, who are you? What is your need to be on stage? Where does that need come from? And what is your state of mind? And I asked them to write about it. And they all wrote I said, just write, and also write freely. Don't write in a traditional way, like my name is this. If you need to write in a fictional, create like a fictional character. If you say I'm a zombie, I'm a crocodile who's going to attack and eat everything, just write about it. And they let their imagination roam free. And from that we started working based on, from movements also and voice, that idea of finding the soul voice. And I think I destroyed their bodies. I love that idea of destruction. I love that idea of from the rot something new can grow, because nothing is ever truly gone. I don't believe that nothing is ever truly gone. It's just there waiting. It's on a sleeping beauty kind of rest thingy. You just need to find the right tools to activate it. And I think for me, the tools of activation is exhaustion. I think when you're tired, then all your senses are open. And then you have to find a way to go through that tiredness, to move through that tiredness, how to persevere even if there is nothing left in you. So I think we work from a philosophical side of just how to continue on when there is nothing left, and also how to open sides of yourself, and everything started opening. People were crying and jumping and then swimming, and then also how to create a space that is also allowed, that you can be a space with people you don't know and just scream and just cry, and then we will sing for you when you cry. We will dance. If you need us to dance with you, we will dance with you until you can cry. How long? If you need to cry for 10 minutes, cry. Someone did. And then we just sang there for 10 minutes while she cried. And it was, for me, it was amazing. For them, I think it was scary at first because things were opening up that they didn't know that was there. And it was scary. And then I think it's like the right kind of guidance, and I improvised most of the moments we were there, because I always say it's a gift and a mystery. So I see what is happening to them, and then I react to that and see also what does this person need, what do you need? Okay, this is what you're portraying, this is what you're showing, but what is in there, and when what is in there comes out, what do you need in order to navigate it? So I think we work based on those concepts, but there was a moment that one of them said, while I was doing it, and the thought was just like, I'm gonna die now. I'm really gonna die now. Okay, so this is the moment I die. And then they were hearing my voice saying, go, 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 go. So, and then she said, when I was done, I felt like I entered a new world, a new reality. It was the experience. She said, I've never done drugs, but I think that this is what doing drugs will feel like. She said, I totally went outside of myself, and that is the experience also, for me also as a performer. So you start from yourself, and then you just elevate yourself up and become something else, something that has no name. We gave, because I didn't have the right name for the workshop, and then one of the participants was saying, it felt like I entered a place with no name. And we decided to call it that, like a place with no name. A place with no name can be a place that comes from deep within you also, a place that is hidden inside yourself. And also then we called it also, I worked also with the term fragile warrior, because I think there is a lot of warriors now, but there is also fragility. Instead of just being working with fragility, a warrior means strength. That's the idea of warrior. And fragility sometimes people perceive as weakness, soft. So how can you be a fragile warrior? How can you tap into your fragility and then use the warrior to protect that fragility, to protect your softness, to protect your kindness, and that can, because you can be soft, you can be fragile, but it can be raw, but you also need to learn how to protect that also from the ones who says to you that is bad. You need like a guardian also, and the warrior is the warrior that protects the fragility also. So we came up with the term also fragile warriors. So we play about with fragile warriors. I created fragile warriors during the workshop.
Una bellissima definizione. Siamo arrivati alla fine di questo talk, ma anche alla fine della serie dei talk. Dunque volevo ringraziare innanzitutto il Biennale Teatro, che ha deciso di dedicare questi spazi davvero preziosi, per usare un termine che ha usato oggi Princess, di tuffo, immersione in quello che è il pensiero, ma anche la pratica degli artisti. Grazie a tutta la squadra tecnica e grazie al team degli interpreti e delle interpreti che hanno reso possibile questi pomeriggi, e soprattutto grazie a Princess, e buona visione a chi questa sera vedrà Grey Tales.